tí mo wà láyé. Agbára mi kọ́ ẹlẹ́rù ni. Wíwá tí mo wà láyé. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Wíwá tí mo wà láyé. Agbára mi kọ́ bàbá o. Wíwá tí mo wà láyé. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Ayé ayé. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Ògo ni forúkọ bàbá mi. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Mímọ́ mímọ́. Ògo ni forúkọ Jésù. 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 Wọ́n ní Jésù. Oh Jésù. Oh Jésù. Oh Jésù. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀ bàbá o. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Ayé ayé nínú àwọn ọ̀run. Òbíríkìtì. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Ọlọ́run mi, agbára mi, ẹ̀mí mi, ẹ̀kọ́ mi, ògo mi, ẹwà mi. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀ bàbá. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Wíwá tí mo wà láyé. Agbára mi kọ́. Wíwá tí mo wà láyé. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Sing it with me. Wíwá tí mo wà láyé. Agbára mi kọ́. Wíwá tí mo wà láyé. Ògo ni forúkọ rẹ̀. Dependable, dependable God. Dependable God. Dependable, dependable God. Dependable, dependable God. Dependable, dependable God. Oh, dependable, dependable, dependable God. Dependable, dependable God. You are dependable God. You are dependable God. Dependable, dependable God. Reliable, reliable God. I depend on you totally. Totally, totally, totally. Be alone can be wrong. Be alone can be wrong. Lay it down, down. Reliable, reliable God. You are reliable God. Reliable, reliable God. Reliable, reliable God. Reliable, 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 reliable God. Come on, just lift your hands and worship Him. He's a faithful God, so dependable, even when you're confused. So dependable, so reliable, so dependable. I have searched and searched and searched. I have seen no one like you. Not dependable, Baba. I'm excited about you. Hey, I'm excited about you. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I can see it anywhere. I can shout it anywhere. You are reliable, Lord. I have seen it in my life. I have seen you work in my life. I have seen your beauty, Jehovah. I have seen your beauty, Jehovah. That is why I have the confidence to project to faithfulness, Jesus. Oh, you are exalted. You are exalted. Come on and sing. You are exalted. Unlimited God. Hey, Baba, you are exalted. You are exalted. You are exalted. Unlimited God. Hey, you are exalted. You are exalted. Balakosata. Come here. unlimited God. You are exalted. You are exalted. You are exalted. Unlimited God. Name given above every other name. You are exalted. I lift you. You are exalted. I lift you. Unlimited God. I don't know what you're going through. Come on, lift your worship. Come on, lift your praise. Above that situation.
Good morning,
Above that
good afternoon, good evening. God bless you. Welcome to daily prayer for our children. Wherever it is that you're joining us from, as always, we like to welcome you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hope you are well. Hope the family are doing well. All the children, I hope they are doing exceptionally well in the mighty name of Jesus. Good to have you in the house, most especially if you are meeting us for the very first time. I never take people's personal space for granted because I cherish my own so much. So whether you've been invited, whether you stumbled across it, or whether you are a member of the PCC family, as always, I'm saying you are in for a fantastic time again with my sister Folakemi, by the grace of God. I don't know, it's amazing how God makes all this. You know, in Ecclesiastes, he says he makes everything beautiful in his own time, and it really does. Because maybe when she comes on, I'll ask her, because we've actually been friends on Facebook. It's amazing, all these friends you have on Facebook. We've been friends on Facebook for God knows how long, and here she is with all these resources, talent, gift of God, everything. And there she is in her corner, and there I am in my corner. But you see, at the appointed time of God, that's what I believe. At the appointed time of God, He makes everything to fall into place. And so, if you know, in fact, when I messaged her, to be honest with you, when I messaged her on Instagram, I wasn't really expecting a response, to be honest with you, because I've been there too many times. I have been there too many. You guys, you know how many people have reached out to, how many professionals, how many experts, just to bring them on board. And you'll be amazed some of the response that I get. So I've got to that stage where my skin has really gone really thick, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to, the same thing I tell my children. The worst you get is say no. So she says no, that's fine. If she says good, it's good. We're going to roll together. And thank God she said yes. And so we're rolling together by the grace of God. And then yesterday, to everybody that was part of National Children's Day UK yesterday, it was our debut to celebrate it. I hope we'll be able to celebrate more. Sister Wanu was also with us. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. My boss and I reflected on all the things that were covered. If you were not opportune to be here yesterday, I will encourage you, go and listen to it. You'll find it on YouTube, you'll find it on Facebook, and it's even on Twitter. So please feel free and go and listen to it. Many important areas of our children's aspect. Sister Wanu spoke about the mind aspect, which is all about the mental well-being of our children. And there's so much, because we can't cover everything in one go. So both of them had to really cut it really short, so for us to be able to, get some meat onto the bone. And so Sister Falakemi spoke about the protection of our children. She spoke about the 3 P's, which I'm sure she didn't go into in deep as she could have as well. So there is so much. I spoke picking up from Sister Wanu about sleep, how important sleep is. So if your children are not sleeping, getting enough sleep, I'll suggest go and listen to what Sister Wanu had to say. And then obviously the rights of our children, Sister Kemi spoke about that, Fala Kemi spoke about that, the rights of our children. I wanted us to explore that. She spoke about the cultural importance of our children as well. This holistic, we kept talking about about the holisticness of it's basically the comprehensiveness of everything that is needed in the life of our children, not isolating anything. And so, when she spoke about the rights of our children yesterday, I said, hey, this is, the place of many people, what right does a child have? I say, you do it, those kind of things. And we need, the renewing of the mind, transformation of the mind, and all those kind of things. So again, I'm advocating, if you were not opportune to be with us yesterday evening, we ended up doing about 2 hours. Sister Wano had to take herself out to go to where she needed to go. And this has always been my experience whenever I do a workshop. I remember when I used to do the LBR workshop on ground, we would budget like 2-3 hours, and then we end up spending the whole day. In fact, when I book a hall, always have to end up going to pay for more hours when we're done, because that was not the budget. Most of the time we'll start like 10 in the morning, and 6 p.m. in the evening I'm still wanting to kick people out of the place, because every moment we're there, it was costing us more money to be there. But that was in the days when I realized a lot of people have a lot of questions on so many aspects of what the Bible is telling us and how we're supposed to live as the children of the Most High. So again, we're here together, like I said, with Sister Fulakemi, with some life skills we're going to be receiving, executive function skills. She's spoken to us at least maybe twice about this now, letting us know the importance of it. And now she's going to give us the tips and the strategy. And some of us have already got the questionnaire. Thank you to all the people that requested the questionnaire. God bless you. I don't know the shape it's going to take. So just get your questionnaire ready, like I said to everybody. So Sister Falakemi will lead us in that aspect by the grace of God. Notice this is helping us parents. Commander is not here. She's the one that's always having a go at me that I don't provide for the parents. I'm always going for the children. Look at it. Sister Falakemi is helping all the parents. She's been helping all the parents. Okay, so don't tell me I don't help parents. So she's helping us with life skills that we can use to be better parents, that we can have the best children that we ought to have, and everybody just being in that place where it's good for everybody's harmony and well-being by the grace of God. And so, like I said, we are doing executive function skills. You've heard about it. You might not know exactly what it is, but Sister Fulakem is going to tell us all about what it's about. And here she comes, my beloved sister. She comes with a smile. I love it when my guests come with a smile. They make me feel so good. God bless you, my sister. How are you, ma?
I'm very well, thank you, ma. Good evening. Thank you for
Excellent.
having me
As
again.
always, is all the pleasure is always mine. Is always mine. One of the things I enjoy when I have people on is that it gives me the opportunity to also learn, and it gives me the opportunity to just stay back and just see things from other people's perspective. Do you remember the last conversation that we had about other people's children disturbing? And I'm like, yeah, my children is not disturbing you, so your children should not disturb me, sort of thing. So I don't know whether you have tantrum, I don't know whether you have issues, but it's none of my business. Don't disturb me, sort of thing. But obviously, the Bible talks about iron sharpening iron. So that's why when I meet somebody like you know, there's some sharp reality sometimes we're not ready to embrace. And
True.
maybe sometimes people haven't even pointed it out to us that,
Mm,
Funke, you've got this problem, you need to sort it out, and it takes somebody from the outside to come in and actually say, yeah, that thing you're doing is actually wrong. And that means we always have to be willing to learn. We have to be receptive to receiving new things, and
true.
willing to embrace and accept where we are wrong, and willing to do the changes that are necessary. And so I'm going to hand over the reign to you. Please go. Like you said, we might not be able to finish everything, but one step at a time. I always say that Jesus was
Yes.
affecting life one at a time. So however far we get, that's what we're going to roll with, and we're going to thank God for it. I hope that's okay with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm handing over the rein to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, let's have the slides. Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I want to appreciate my sister and our pastor for having me. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Right, so executive function skills. Well, let's look at the tips and strategies. Okay, looking at that child that, God has given us some grace to parent or to grandparent. How can we support them? I want to say that we're talking about the the children who are developing, who are meeting their milestones, but who are having small challenges. I think at some point we will also talk about, children who have additional needs. Because
Okay.
when it comes to additional needs, executive function skills, lack of those skills are really highly pronounced. So when you talk about ADHD or ASD, you will find that the rigidity, the lack of flexibility, and all of those things are more pronounced in them. So we're talking about the children who are meeting their milestones but who are lacking in certain skills. So let's move on with our slides. I'm
Okay.
going to do a summary of what we've learned before.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine.
So the next slide, please.
Okay.
So we started by looking at some the
Sorry.
foundations for learning.
Mm.
Okay, it hasn't changed this.
It hasn't. Wow.
It hasn't.
Okay. Uh, is it slow? Why is it slow?
Okay.
Okay. Let me refresh. I don't know what's happening. I'll just put you on the screen.
So while you're doing that, we when we started, we talked about learning starting from the womb. Like that, the baby is learning about us and learning from us as they grow. So yeah, and we said and we talked about a lot of things that happen as babies grow. We talked about how the brain begins to develop and begins to make the connections that are necessary for,
You uploaded it.
yeah.
So I think it's allowing me to do the upload function. So
Okay.
let me see.
Oh, okay.
There.
There
Can
you
you
are.
see?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, technology. You see. So am I in the right place? Is
Yes,
it
yes.
correct?
So,
Okay.
yeah. So the executive function skills are the brain's air traffic control system. They're the ones is the one that controls all the things we do. Okay. They are the skills the children and us as adults need to organize, to plan, and to do the things that we need to do. So they're very, very important. And the thing I want us to remember is we're not born with them, we learn them. So we mustn't assume that, oh, the child should. No, when we start using should,
Mm,
we should step back and think.
okay.
We should step back and think, should. Have we taught it? If we haven't taught it, we can't use the word should. Even when we've taught it, we have to teach it again and
Again.
again because that brain is young and is still learning and they forget. So these are the skills we need to plan, to organize. So when you see the child being disorganized or they're not planning, it means they haven't got the skills they need to do it. So let's move on.
Okay.
And we need to teach them. Okay, so when we looked at learning foundations, we said the foundation matters and learning begins from the womb. You'll all agree with me that if the foundation of a house isn't right, the
That's
scripture
right.
tells us the house that was built on the sand, it crumbled. That you have to have a foundation to build on. Okay, so what they learn and absorb from conception determines the brain structure that can be sustained. And I know we went on to talk about stress and its effect on the brain of a developing child. And that's the next slide. And I know we spent a lot of time on that as well, saying that stress, maternal stress, is a big factor in what it determines how much the brain of the child would develop. And let's move on. That will be our next. So these skills, they begin to develop soon after birth, and scientists are now saying that the brain is not fully developed until about 25 years. So think
Wow.
about that, just 17-year-old that you're shouting at. They got no clue. They don't know what you're talking about. They're just doing their own thing because that brain is still firing everywhere, trying to make sense of the world. So imagine how wonderful that is. That this brain is such an amazing thing. From birth till you die, actually, the brain is very plastic. You can always learn new things. But between 0 and 25, there's massive developments taking place. So we need to teach the children. We need to teach them, keep teaching them. So don't look at the 23-year-old and roll your eyes. They're not there yet. They're not there yet. And we will not be saying should. Everybody, anybody listening to me, stop saying should. You should know better. They don't. That's why they're doing what they're doing. So we're teaching them, we're modeling it, we're reinforcing it, and that's the way to go. Let's move on. Okay, so I've talked about this cortisol, stress hormones develop. It affects the development of the brain, of the synapses, of the connections in the brain. It impedes the development of the brain cells of the baby. The connections are needed for learning. The connections of the neurons in the brain are needed for learning. If there's stress, there can be no learning. Even for the child who is of school age, even as you as an adult, when you're stressed, can somebody come to you and say, "Oh, let me teach you how to operate this thing"? You won't make any sense of it. Imagine a child who is stressed and in school. How are they going to learn? Stress is not, it doesn't allow connections to take place in the brain. So let's remember that. And children can be stressed. Let's not say children cannot be stressed. They can be stressed. Let's move on. So the
Not
experience,
directed at anybody.
they
So,
can be stressed. Let me just leave that there. Drop it there and move on. The experiences children have as they grow, they're building materials. The same way, if we're going to build a house, we get the concrete, we get the wood, we get everything works together to build the house. So the earliest years of life are very important in the formation of the brain. What happens in the early years goes a long way to affect how the child turns out. But I always put that, but it's never too late to start supporting brain development. And that's why we're here. And I'm really glad that everybody's here. So let's jump into executive function skills, how to support the skills. So we've talked about stress. We can move on. Look at the foundation of that house. It's quite shaky. That's what stress does to the brain, and it can cause a collapse, which we don't want. But we're here because we want to take action. So let's move forward. Okay, so we looked at these skills when we started out: planning, organization, self control, task initiation, beginning a task, time management, metacognition, working memory, attention, flexibility, and perseverance. And we all need those skills, adults and children. So as we work together today, let's take the ones that we want to work with the children. I hope that everybody who filled the questionnaire also filled the parent part of it.
I send both to everybody.
because it gives you an overview of you as a person in comparison to your child. And I'm sure a lot of what the children are exhibiting, we saw on our own. If we failed it
The phone.
honestly, we
Yes.
saw on our own.
Yes.
So
I'm speaking for
sometimes
myself, by the way.
sometimes the things we accuse the children of, or the things we complain about, they've actually just absorbed it from us. They've just learned it from us. They are just exhibiting the genes they have. Okay, so we're learning together, we and the children. Okay, let's move on. These are the skills we're going to talk about. I decided to do the skills one by one. So we
Okay.
might not get through it because what you are looking for might be different from what someone else is looking for.
Yes.
Someone might be looking for skills for perseverance. Someone might be looking for skills for time management. I know that in the second session, I talked generally about what we can do. Now
Yes.
I'm going to talk specifically about each area.
Okay.
And if we're able to do five, then we can do five at some
Okay.
other time. Yeah,
Okay.
because it's
The only
late.
thing is, just in case we don't get there, please, what is metacognition?
We'll talk there. We'll talk about it. It's self-awareness.
Ah, okay. Now we can move on.
Right. Planning. If I came out as a weak area for the child, and it does come out as a weak area for many adults. Yes. Ability to figure out how to accomplish goals. Simple things like how to be ready for leaving the house. At the very basic, what do we do if we find a child who cannot, get things together, who cannot, what the problems are? I'm just going to talk about the solutions today. We need to teach the planning skills. We need to teach the planning skills. And I'll say it again, we need to teach the planning skills. If we haven't taught it, we cannot complain that they don't have it. They don't just pick it up.
You sure?
They don't pick it up. They have to be taught. So if the child is not ready in the mornings, it doesn't matter whether they're year 11 or year 5 or year 2, they need the structure. They need to be taught that, okay, what do you need to get ready? What are the things you need for this? And it cuts across everything. What are the things you need to get ready for school? It cuts across everything. If you're talking about, oh, we need to cook, this is planning. We need to cook whatever, bolognese. What do we need? That's planning. Write a list. We're going shopping. What do we need from, on this shopping trip? What are we going to cook? And what are the ingredients we need? So the skills we need to teach them. So teach them, let them sit them down and say, look, I noticed that, you know, you're not ready on time because you haven't got your stuff ready. What are the things you need to get ready? If we're traveling, write a list. So for planning, I'm a list person. I'm a post-it queen. I have post-it of different colors, shapes, and sizes. I stick them I know I might forget. So the same with the children, they would forget. So let's write a list. If it's getting ready for that's a problem, write a list of the things they need to get ready for school. If it's being ready for church, write a list and put a timeline to it. In my house, everybody knows that if everybody's at home, you have to be up before 8 because church starts at 9. So you can shower and be ready. Anything after 8, we're going to be late. It's become the rule. So what timeline have you given them? These children who are not being ready on time. Is it that the child needs to wake up earlier so that they can be ready? If it's one of those ones who spends forever in the bathroom, Or you have teenagers, they spend forever in front of the mirror, nothing you can do. They wake up early so that they're ready on time. Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
But still on planning, I think there's a couple of things. Okay, so to-do lists. Write a to-do list. I used to write lists for my children like there's no tomorrow. Come back from school, you do one, two, three, four. Nobody can tell me I forgot. I wrote it down. Okay. Or especially mothers, don't waste your energy talking. Put the list. When they say so, I'll just point to my list and keep quiet. End of discussion. Okay. So lists, reminder sheets like, okay, if they're going to school, there's a reminder page on their planner of what they need to take to school, what they need to bring back from school. Technology is there to help us.
Exactly.
I am a Google Calendar forever person. You tell me something, I put it straight on Google Calendar and I set the reminder. Most of the children, at least from year 7, should have phones that they can set reminders on. On your way back from school, set a reminder to get the milk. Things like that. And for those who are really struggling, help them break it down into small bits. What's the first thing you need to do? So you would notice as I talk through that a lot of these skills are intertwined. A lot of the things we need to do are they feed into one another. Like that to-do list. It's a lifesaver. I used to have a board that we wrote things on.
Mm.
And my fridge and the
Mm-hmm.
fridge freezer
Mm-hmm.
is full of stickers and fridge magnets with
Mm-hmm.
things and this and that because it just made my life easier.
Very.
So writing a list, they don't know, teach them, let them write it down. Oh, call them. Oh, what are the things you need to do tomorrow? Write me a list. If there's a lot of things and they might struggle, take some of them and help them break it down into time frames, into chunks. Like, okay, when you come back from school, what's the first thing you would do? Put your shoes away, hang up your coat, um, wash your hands. So if they don't do it, you just point, go and do what you need to do. Then we wouldn't have to do all that talking that we keep doing and reminding them and nagging, and then they will say, "Oh, mommy, you nag too much." It's always mommy. God will help us. It's
Amen.
always because we say something and we don't get a response, and it annoys us, and then we go on and on. So your list will be a saver. You wouldn't have to talk too much. Just point to the list and be patient. So if there's any questions with planning, please let me know. So don't forget, just reminders. Set the alarm. Use the clock. The clock is our friend when it comes to planning. Between this and this time, this is when you eat, and this time, this is where you do. So they know. They know. I remember when mine were young and games went away during the week. It disappeared. On Friday, hey, you should see the speed at which my children did their chores so that they could have game.
Games.
It was set. It was already in the plan. There was nobody coming to speak to me on Wednesday about the game. It's not happening. So and the Wednesday timetable is there. I just say, okay, which one do you want to remove
Wednesday.
from Wednesday to put this game inside? So it wasn't a topic, it wasn't a point for discussion at all. So let's teach them to plan. They don't know it. It doesn't matter if they are 18. Sit down together and start talking about it. I notice, the school has said you're coming late. Obviously, mom and dad have gone to work. Why are you going late? If we shout and complain, it doesn't change it.
Mm.
But if we sit down and say, what time do you wake up? If mommy and daddy are not at home, what time do you wake up? 7:30, that's too late because you need to catch the 8:15 bus. Because sometimes they have no clue. They just look like grown-up people. They have no idea how to, and we'll talk about time management as well. So yeah, let's just sit down with them and talk through these things, and we will see an improvement with planning. We will. I'm sure about it. Right, let's move on. Let's move on. Organization, which is slightly different from planning. Developing systems that keeps things in order. So when this is the child who cannot find their socks, who cannot find their bag, who is phoning you halfway on the way to school. I left my fob at home, or I left my blah blah at home. So organization very closely linked to planning. We teach them the skills. How do you teach them filing skills? If they're the ones that have got to the stage where they have papers, teach them how to put their papers in order, provide files for them. If it's the younger children, how do you organize your stuff? Put your shoes here by the door. Put your socks in them for tomorrow, if that's the way you do things. So that, they know. Put your water bottle next to it. And I call something relentless routines. Like my people used to laugh at me. My house was like a military zone. Otherwise, my friends and I, we used to laugh, but it just helps them to, if they get into a routine, then they just do things and it is easy. So, relentless routines, vital. What do you do when you come back from school? You can see how this is linked to planning.
Mm.
What do you do when you come back from school? One, two, three. This is our routine. So, with your routine, you have reminders. For younger children, pictures. First, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you have your shower, you put on your uniform, you sit down for breakfast, then they get used to it. So, use pictures, use lists, use reminders, just make sure there's a routine. Because when there's no routine, it, it confuses the children, it confuses them. We do one thing today, we do a different thing tomorrow. So we ourselves as adults, you'll agree with me that we have to be organized.
Of course.
We have to be organized. If if they are going to have breakfast and we're not organized enough to have bought the milk the day before, we throw a cog in the wheel of the morning. The child who only likes cereal will get grumpy because they have to eat toast. Okay, don't tell me that the child is acting spoiled. They're acting spoiled because they haven't developed the skills to absorb that change in routine, especially for the younger children. We teach them gradually to adjust to when they can't have what they need. But we ourselves need to be ready, we need to be organized. There'll be slips in the routine. Absolutely, we're human. But we need to model these things. Let them see us being organized. Let them see us, having our lists, having our plans for the day. I have a 24-hour diary that I feel what I'm going to do in. The children see me use it. Do things like that so that you make your life easier. Once they tell me everything, what they're going to do, I say, tell me so I can put it on my calendar, I can put it on my planner. Otherwise, I'll forget. When part of organization is they bring in a form from school,
Mm.
please sort it out immediately.
Mm.
As the form is coming out, you're filling it and they're putting it back in their bag. or as you're getting in the notification, or if it's one of those ones that they do on apps,
Parents, yeah.
on parents mail or something,
Mm.
just 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 do it straight away. Okay. And for younger children, please, please, please check their book bags. If I tell you the number of children, some children, I teacher, I'm the one that will have to empty their book bags of all the letters we've given since the beginning of term.
Wow.
When there's no more space to put anything. Where was that parent? I've had parents give me back a form that they had to sign 3 months later after the event had passed. They didn't even look at the date. They just found the
Date.
form and filled it. So if we're talking about children not being organized, we ourselves, we need to be organized. We need to make sure that we're on top of the game. I know we're busy. I know that there's so much happening in our lives, but we will be more stressed if we don't get organized. And that's the truth. That's the truth. So yeah, we need to teach them and support them and model it. Modeling. I'm going to talk about modeling a lot. They need to see us doing it. It's not do as I say, it's do as I do.
Hmm.
So let's move on. Let's move on. This is the third one now. Okay. Task initiation. Right. We have a lot of this. It's more common to see it in school, but you probably see a lot, some of it at home as well. So for some children, the strength to begin a task independently and when they need to, and even when they don't want to do it. Now we have a lot of refusals in school. I don't like it, I don't want to do it.
Hmm.
And I say, well, we haven't got a choice. The quicker we do it,
The
the
better.
quicker we can do other things that we like. Okay? And it's a skill they need to learn. It's not about being lazy. You call the child lazy, it doesn't change the fact that they're still not doing what
Doing.
they need to
Mm.
do. So they need to learn the skill, they need to learn the discipline. As as I said before, oral and visual support. Say to them, this is what you need to do. If it's a younger child, or put a picture there. Shoes. In fact, it doesn't. I like pictures. You don't need to talk. Picture, shoes, put it down, and they go and get it. Okay, so helping them understand that this is what we need to do. Counting down. I use it as an adult. Sometimes I'm procrastinating. I'm thinking, oh, I'll give you another 5 minutes. I'll give you another 10 minutes. We do it as adults, but we don't like it when the children do it. Okay, let me just watch one more video. Let me just scroll 5 more minutes, 30 minutes. We're still, especially with social media.
Mm.
Let's not go there. So countdown. I learned something from Mel Robbins, one of these motivational speakers. She says when she feels that she's stepping back, she'll just do 3, 2, 1, stand.
Hmm.
She has to get up, counting down. So rocket ship counting down. Teach them when we get to one or when we get to zero, we will start, and then they can develop that discipline. Even for adults, it is hard, especially things that we don't want to do or things we don't enjoy doing.
Mm.
Okay, have a contract with rewards from the areas of interest. Some people call it bribing, whatever works for the child. What is their area of interest? Say to them, first, we do this, then we can do that. They've got something to look forward to. So let them know if this happens, then this can happen. If a child learns that from an early age, you will find that flexibility will be easier for them. We'll still talk about flexibility. If this happens, then this happens. Then the parent needs to be consistent, because children, they are the greatest psychologists anywhere. They know you in and out. They know how to twist you around their little finger. They will roll their eyes. They say, ah, please, oh, mommy, 1 more minute. If and then, if we have a structure, 9 o'clock is bedtime. I remember when my children, 9 o'clock was late, 8 o'clock was their bedtime. And then in summer, they'll say, ah, mommy, it's still, it's not night, it's not night.
Mm,
I
mm.
say, what does the clock say? Because of that, we had blackout blinds. It's not night, I can't sleep. We have to be one step ahead in the
Head.
game. As soon as they're bringing it up, I'm thinking, okay, I need to wiggle out of this one. You have to go to bed on time. So being proactive, being ready, and being able to, you know, to adapt, to be flexible, because the children are different. Some children will thrive on rewards.
Mm,
Some will thrive on the the countdown, the fact
mm,
that you've made it a game,
mm,
the fact that it's a challenge. Let's see who will finish first. We do it when they're younger and they're tidying up. Who can pick up the most toys?
mm,
How much of your room can you clean in 10 minutes?
mm,
So it's us being flexible enough to remember that we're dealing with a younger person, an immature person. So telling them to clean their room might make sense to us. My definition of clean might not be their definition of clean. In fact, I can't remember what
that's
happened recently. I was like, we obviously have different definitions
of
of
course.
of
Definitely, especially with the plates in the kitchen.
of clean or good or
Ah.
okay.
Mm,
So if you think your adult definition of clean or tidy is the same as you stress yourself. So we will model what we think it should look like. In 10 minutes, we can fold these clothes away and
mm,
look at the difference.
mm.
So that requires us being present and being patient. Let's move on. So
Okay.
that's for task. Okay, right. Some children will thrive on devising a warm-up routine. It's similar to the countdown. Okay, before you do this, they might like they might like a run in the garden. My son is an activity person, and in winter he would say, "Oh, can I go and kick the ball in the garden? Can I?" He likes to be outside, so I would let him run around in the garden, and then come and do his homework. He would have burnt off the energy. So, what sort of warm up? What are the things they like that they can do that will encourage them to do what they need to do? Okay. Yeah, most of the nights, yeah, I can imagine. Okay. Thank you, Ma. Thank you for those comments. Yes, being flexible, being consistent, absolutely. And we can do it. We can do it. Right, let's move on to our next skill.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we've talked about starting what they need to do. And I'll just talk a bit more about starting what they need to do. What we see in school, you don't need to change the slide. What we see in school is children who 20 minutes into the lesson haven't opened their books. When we talk about schooling, we'll talk about this. Children who 20 minutes into the lesson have probably just written the M for Monday, because you're laughing, because they can't get
Started.
themselves into the mood of starting and doing what they need to do.
Wow.
Mm, just and they'll say, "Oh, I don't like maths." I said, "Well, You have to do maths. If you need help, ask me, and then we can get through this together. So it's not a question of whether I like it or not. Okay, time management. Phew. Okay, I make bold to say that most adults struggle with time management. So when we say, "Oh, this child is wasting my time," hmm, accurate understanding of how long tasks will take, using our time wisely and effectively to accomplish tasks. When we sit and while away time on the phone, on the screen, we're not modeling using time wisely. We're not modeling effectiveness. These things are part of our lives. Yes, we will watch TV. Yes, we will do social media. Yes, we will talk on the phone, but we will be models of how to use it. So, time management, that child that you get to the car and you're waiting for them, they come to the car with one sock on, the other one in their hand because they haven't, and they woke up at 5 a.m. or whatever, but they're still not ready. They need to have the structure to help them manage their times properly. Schedules. Yesterday when we were talking on National Children's Day, Staffuke shared with us how they have a family calendar
Mm-hmm.
where everybody's schedule is in there.
Mm-hmm.
That way, the children know in this house we plan. We don't
Mm.
just jump and do things. They don't just come back from school and say, "Oh, mommy, can you take me to?" Mommy already has something on on the schedule for her to do. So there are no impromptu. There'll be emergencies, but there will be no impromptu. I've decided I want to do this, so therefore my mommy should do it with me. So schedules. What is the schedule for the week?
Mm.
Monday, you're going to football club after school. Sunday, you need to sort out this, that. Tuesday is piano lesson. You need to practice on Monday at this time. They can't do it themselves. We need to sit down and teach them, and after a while, they'll start doing it. Wednesday is swimming lesson. Swimming costume needs to be prepped. If it's football, the last football kits, did you get washed? Did you put it in the wash? And that would have been established with the routine that on Saturday I come back from football, I clean my boots, and I put my clothes in the washing machine. Now, if that child does not have that routine, comes back, leaves their boots and their football kits outfit in the bag, and then the next Friday to Saturday's football, there'll be chaos because the routine had not been established from before. So I'm going back to planning and organization now.
Mm.
See how it affects time management. Okay, so schedules, daily schedules, weekly schedules, you know who the child is, you know what they need. Please make sure they have one. And make time visual. In fact, I still had a joke with a child in class today that I don't know what he was saying, and I pointed to the clock. He said, "Oh, Miss, I can't read an analog clock." I'm talking about a year 9 child. It was just trying to play on my intelligence, and we laughed. But if you know how many of our children cannot read the analog clock, the clock with the hand,
Wow. It's all digital.
it's all digital. Teach them. Teach them how to use it.
I
In fact, when we
remember.
were young, when I started teaching, we used to say, when the big hand gets to 4, or
That's
when the
right.
big hand gets to 12,
That's
it
right.
gave us
Yes.
a visual, and
Mm-hmm.
it made meaning, it made sense. It
Mm.
gave us an understanding of the passage of time.
Mm. Mm.
So let's use a lot more of the analog clock, especially with younger children. If you're able to buy a clock that you can write with a marker on, you can block out is or use instead of I'll talk about a timer. You can block out the amount of time they have. So when the clock, when it moves from here to here, this is your space.
Mm,
When it gets to here and past here, time is finished. So they can recognize that, the time is moving,
mm,
and my time will soon be up. Now that works the same way as timers. Timers are visual. Sun timers, if you Google sun timers, you see all sorts. So we use the kitchen timer. We use those sort of things as well. Things that can tell them that my time is running out. Digital timers work as well. They can see the time going down. So just find out what works for the child and let them understand that this is what we're doing, and this is how much time you've got left. This is how much time you've got to plan.
you know that time aspect that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Um, I think having a clock at strategic places in the house helps.
absolutely.
So there's that consciousness of
Of
time.
mm,
And I always do things with all our clock, including the one in the car. They're always 5 or 10 minutes fast.
like my father's clock. I was so traumatized by that early clock. I refused to do it as
Really?
an adult. My daddy's clock was always 10 minutes early. Like, you could not be late.
Always,
You could not
always.
be late.
5 minutes or 10 minutes, it must be early. Even when I'm booking appointments, when I book appointment, they said your appointment is the 12th. When I enter into the diary, I put 11:45.
Brilliant. Good.
I put
That way.
11:45. I don't put 12. So when everybody is thinking, oh, I got to be there at 12, 11. No, you got to be there at 11:45.
45.
So that gives us leeway for any, and like you said, modeling the things. So when I myself am not late, when I
Mm,
myself am conscious of
mm,
time,
mm.
then where are you going to say you're getting that from?
Absolutely.
It,
Absolutely. Mm,
for about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, my children were schooling 1 hour away
wow.
for 4 or 5 years. And by the latest, you see, when you were talking about time, you've got to know how long this thing is going to take you. That's our starting point.
Mm,
And hopefully this is bringing some practicality to people and thinking, how do I gauge this time? How do I know? The journey, when we put the journey in the sat nav, is going to take 45 minutes. Now, please
plus.
take note. My children,
Plus.
my children don't start school. One didn't start school until maybe 8:45. The other one didn't start until 9. And the journey is only 45 minutes. Sister Kemi, we left home unfailingly 7:15 every day. 7:15
Give
every
or
day.
take.
And 7:15 every day, it means that we were always arriving at everybody's destination at least 1 hour before the time. So days when there was traffic, days when there was accident,
Mm.
days when there were diversion,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
were
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
never late. Even
Late.
when there were road closures, and all the schools they've written, oh, I said, well, you guys, it's breakfast time, everybody, let's go and have breakfast. So you see what I'm saying? So again, like you said, how do you personally take time management,
Mm.
and how do you like, I'm the alarmist in this house. Every device has an alarm on it, and is set ahead of time as well. So that could help some other people
Mm.
as well.
Mm.
If you're thinking, how do I manage time? Your children begin to learn. And I'm going to share this briefly, Sister Fulakemi. When one of my child started sixth form, the parents of the friend offered to be dropping both the friend and my child at the station. Now, please take note. My children are never, late for anything. So when that child said, "Oh, so's parents have offered to do this," I said, "Yeah, that's absolutely fine." I said, "But we have terms and conditions. In all your years that you've been going to school so far, how many times have you ever
Never
been
been
late?
late.
None.
Mm.
You are not allowed to be late. I don't want to hear a story. I don't want to know anything. The lateness is not accepted." So lo and behold, reluctantly, okay, let them take you, so that you're not always saying no to everything. The first day kind of went okay. There was no anything. Thereafter, I don't know whether it was the second or third day, I called my child and I said, "What happened on the day you fall out with this friend? Will they stop picking you?" Do
Good
you see what I'm
question.
saying? Are they going to stop picking you? What's going to happen? And I think Penny began to drop. And I said, "Well, we should politely bail out here just in case, because then, everybody will be stuck in their ways and then friendship will go pear shape and all those kind of things." You wouldn't believe what happened. Not knowing that, you see, those first days that went smoothly, those were the exception to their life. Since, since that time, I can't remember when they've made it to the station on time. I can tell you how many times they're just waking up like 1 hour to the time, or when they suddenly remember they need to do something. And I looked at that child. I said, "You should be thanking me."
Oh, they'll grumble. They'll grumble. I know that a few times when they have to be at the mercy, the time has to be at the mercy of somebody else. They're like,
Mm,
oh God, mommy. Oh God. I'm like,
okay.
okay, okay.
So,
Yeah.
time management, like you said, is not just children,
Mm,
adult themselves. I mean, I
mm.
know adults that they miss their flights regularly.
Do you know? I'm baffled. I'm like, what? How does anybody do that? How do you
Wow.
manage? You
And
get to
it's
the airport
expensive.
2 hours before your flight. You're there. What are you? What?
Yes.
Miss your train? Miss your? I said
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't
Miss,
happen.
no
Why?
way.
Why?
No way. No way. And there's somebody, ozone layer says time management entails a lot of discipline and
Mm,
dedication on the part of the
mm,
parent.
mm,
Again, which is what we said the last time, is the
mm.
sacrifice that the parents are willing to put in. It takes some time for the child to learn the act of managing their time
Time.
as they grow. And it's true.
It
It
is.
does take
Mm.
it does take time. And especially if you're growing up in a home where time management is not important. And that's why I hate that phrase, African timing. I
Oh
always say
God,
there's no
please,
such thing
please.
as
Time
African.
is time.
Yes, there's no such thing. So they've given you a time. You know how long. Go and sit down. Go and plan. How long is the journey? How long
Mm.
is it going to take you to walk? How long is the train taking? So you yourself, so you're part of, you're planning it with them, but you're letting them understand what
Yes.
it is they need to
Yeah.
incorporate
Mm.
into that planning.
Mm.
So again, that planning into time management, like you said,
Yeah.
planning is in every.
Everything, 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 and we are the models. And to be honest, if we are modeling being late for appointments, what we're saying to the children is it's okay to disrespect other people.
Yeah.
Because anybody who doesn't value your time doesn't value you. They
Value.
are
That's
disrespecting
right.
your person.
Do you know, I also find it very hard to comprehend ch- children missing appointments at the GPs.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, and I'm hearing the child didn't wake up on time, and I'm thinking, so where's the parents?
Even my
S-
22-year-old, I'm still saying, when is your next orthodontist? He's the one who's arranging it, but I'm the one who's doing the calculation. Like, it's almost time
Okay.
for another one. Because, That's what we just do. Get the appointment letter, stick it on the fridge, put a reminder on your phone, write it down in the diary. There's so many ways. For Google Reminder, you can do 1 week before and then update it 2 days
It,
before.
in fact, it gives you, there's two notifications that you can
Mm-hmm.
get from your Google Calendar. You can
Yeah.
get an email and you can get a notice.
Yes.
So you can choose when you get all those things. But again, we're talking about being able to use technology, which is one of the first things you showed us at the beginning. But I like what you said is never too late.
Mm.
So I'm hoping that as people are listening to what you're saying, there's willingness to be able to change or wanting to change,
Yes.
and feeling the need that we need to change in order to be able to help our sons and our
Absolutely.
daughters.
Absolutely. I think we've talked about the practicing estimating time. I think that was the one you talked about. So we practice together. We talk about it. We need to get to the station at 7 o'clock. Our train is at 7:30. What time do we need to leave the house?
Mm, mm, mm,
So the child is learning that, we don't just get into the car and get to the station. Time elapses, time passes.
of
How
course,
long is that time?
of
Okay.
course.
So we need to teach those skills. We need to teach them how to reflect,
Mm,
thinking about how things have gone, what has happened, what has gone well, what has not gone well at the end of the day. When things happen, even when nothing has happened, how did your day go? Did you manage to get everything done that you needed to do?
mm,
Were you on time to your lessons? Teach
mm,
them how to do reflective thinking, to go over things that have happened. It has happened. We don't just dump it and forget about it. We learn from what has happened. So, if, for instance, they haven't been ready on time, we sit down and reflect on it. Where did it go wrong?
mm-hmm,
So we need a lot of time as parents to sit with them and talk with them. And we need patience. It won't always be I'm patient every day, but we would try as much as possible to model what we want to see in them. If you've been late, you reflect back to them. I was late this morning because I didn't leave the house on time.
mm,
Why didn't I leave the house on time? I didn't wake up on time.
mm,
Why didn't I wake up on time? I went to bed late. So if they see us reflecting, it helps them to be able to reflect and to manage their time properly, better than they used to. And like I say, relentless routines. Relentless routines. You're going to start out like a military camp and then you're going to relax it after a while as
mm,
everybody's learning.
mm,
You see, the discipline in the military,
mm.
it's routines.
It is. It
The
is
big
routine.
old goals in the
Yeah,
morning, you are up.
that's right.
This is the next thing you do. This is the next thing you do. Even though we are flexible, but we still have a routine because things will happen that will throw the routine out of balance. We still
Mm,
have routines
mm.
and it works. It works. Honestly, it does work. Right.
Next one.
Should we do one more?
Next.
Oh, two.
We actually almost finished, to be honest.
Oh, how many more do we have?
This is the 13th one.
Okay, I think there are 18 of them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right. Attention.
Hmm.
Now, for children who have uh, neurodevelopmental delays, who have delays with their um, brain function, attention is a big issue. So, when I'm talking about attention here, I'm not talking about children who have ADHD or who have ASD. These techniques will work, but they need more focused attention. So being able to focus on a task for a period of time and shifting attention when needed. I'll give us a funny example.
Okay.
This evening, I sat here. My daughter sat on my other side. She was working. And then she She said, "Oh, where's my phone?" And she was talking to, she was like, hey Siri, call my phone. I said, "Oh." And I said to her, I reflected back to her something I noticed. Yesterday she was walking upstairs. Her phone was in the kitchen. So I said to her, I said, "Oh, I noticed you don't put your phone near you when you're working." She said it's too much of a distraction. I was
Mm.
like, "Ooh." I sat there. Actually sat here straight from work because I hadn't finished the slides. And I realized, because we were having a family conversation, me and my siblings, with my parents. I just got them something, and all the excitement. So
Mm.
I'm sat here working and then picking up my phone. She sat here and she doesn't even know where her phone is. I'm the mother.
Exactly. Mm.
I gave myself a target to finish this at 7 o'clock. I didn't finish it until close to 9.
Mm. Because
But
of the
this young
distraction.
lady has picked up the skills of no phone. I'm working.
Eliminating distraction.
She eliminated it completely. I said to her, I said, "Your attention span is better than mine on this occasion."
Mm.
And I had noticed it yesterday. I said, I saw it in the kitchen. I was like, young people and their phones. She left it in the kitchen and she was walking upstairs. So these things are possible. They are
Mm.
possible to do. Being able to, focus and, do what we need to do. But we are the models. We are the models.
Mm. Mm.
So I'm going to just teach us let's continue to slide. So
Okay.
for the children, for the younger children,
Mm.
clear 1 or 2 step instructions, directions. We don't realize how much we say and how much we pile onto them. When they're before the age of 12, I say they have the attention span of a flea. Like, it's like that. So if you're going to say something to them, you say, when you go upstairs, bring my shoes, then look on the side, my bedside
Mm.
drawer,
Mm.
and find the pen, and on my wardrobe. By the time they get to the third stair, they're
They
like,
forgot.
they'll
What did
come
you
back,
say again?
"Mommy, what did you say?" They can't hold it until they've processed, until they've learned how to use that skill. So clear 1, 2 step directions to start with, and then we progress it. One step, at least for the younger ones, go and bring the shoes. And then next time, they can bring the shoes and the bag because they have learned how to hold the 1 step. They can learn how to use 2 steps. Attention, visual reminders to focus on what they need to do. This is what I do first, and then this is what I do next. Can you see that we've gone back to planning
Mm.
and organization? Timer for work sessions. This technique, the Pomodoro technique, I don't know if you've heard about it.
No.
It advocates working, focused working. It doesn't matter what the work is. If it's cleaning you want to do, set the timer. Do it for 25 minutes. When the
Okay.
timer goes, you can take a break.
Ah.
Now, you don't necessarily have to do 25 minutes for younger children. You can do 10 minutes, 10 minutes of focused work, and then we take a break. So, this room is so untidy. We need to tidy it. This kitchen, we need to tidy it. Let's do 10 minutes together, or even 25 minutes if we're doing it together, 25 minutes. Set a visual timer. They can see the timer. And at the end of the day, they would see how much you've accomplished together, and you can become a habit for them. So, for the ones who struggle with homework, for struggle to focus, in doing the work, set them down. Let them sit for 10, 15 minutes. Focus. They know that after the 10 minutes, I can get up, have
Mm.
a break, and then come back. You see, the ones, the where we have trouble is we say, "You haven't finished it, sit down and finish it." But the attention is gone.
Ah. So enforcing it doesn't help.
Yeah. So we need to build it up, build it up. Now this young lady sits for, I'm the one I even said, so you've sat for too long, get up. Have you done more than 90 minutes? You need to get up. So those sort of things. It depends if the attention span of a child is poor, you need to build it up gradually and give it breaks in between. So use a timer, teach them personal checking skills, like when they're doing their work,
Mm,
helping them to learn that, am I focused on what I'm doing? Am I paying attention? Am I craning my neck to see? Of course, the TV shouldn't be on when they're doing homework or when they're doing focus task. Then you need to have a set space where homework is done. If you have, yeah, I mean, we all have at least one sort of table or the other
mm,
where the child can sit. They know that this is where I sit down to do my homework routine,
mm,
relentless routines, so that it won't be today we're sat on the sofa trying to do homework.
mm,
Tomorrow we're in the kitchen trying to do homework.
mm,
Make it formal. It's time to do homework. We sit down.
mm.
We're learning life skills. So
And
they're learning that. Hmm?
yeah, if paraventure they don't have because not, you know, everybody's home is not the same. There might
Yeah.
not always be a table and a desk and all that kind of thing. Again, one of the reason I'm always advocating libraries. um if you
Oh
organize,
yes.
there's always local libraries. So when you're coming back from school, maybe you're heading straight to the library,
Mm-hmm.
or depending on what time the library in your vicinity closes, those kind of things. So that maybe the next 1-2 hours you've got
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
table and desk that you can
Mm.
actually sit down, concentrate and do
Yeah.
what you need to do.
Mm.
And another thing, as part of what you're also saying, as you're saying all these things right from the very beginning, every aspect of everything you're saying, for me, I just see it as kind of helping them towards when they now need to start taking exams.
Mm. Mm. Where they start facing
If
life.
Yeah, so everything you're saying, whether it's planning, initiating things of your own volition, time management, all these kind of things still heads, because if you've got all these things under your belt and, like you said, is a routine, is regular, by the time they come to places where they have tests, where they have exams, you're not the one going to be chasing, you're not the
Mm.
one
Mm.
pushing,
Mm.
and
Mm.
hopefully we've taught them the value and the importance of education. So
Absolutely.
they've come to that realization themselves. So all these other life skills that we hopefully have helped them to activate in their life will now start falling, like you said. When we start, it's like a military zone,
Mm.
but as they grow and they learn the routine and it becomes less of military, and there's less involvement on our side as
Absolutely.
well.
Independence begins to develop,
Exactly.
and
So
which
they
is
be
vital.
Exactly. So when it now comes to exam preparation, like I'm just thinking, it's not like, panic. There's no need,
Yeah.
because if we've been doing the regular routine and we understand about structure, planning, time management, when is my exams, how much work have I got to do, and all those kind of things, hopefully it's helping towards that. But,
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. You've summarized it perfectly. The more they learn how to
mm,
manage, their time, and how to self-manage, how to be self-aware,
mm,
the easier it is when they go out there, when they need to do stuff.
mm,
And it's interesting. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see how different children do their thing, and you can look at them and you can see the skills that are missing. I watched a group of how old are year 10s now?
yeah,
14,
tense.
15.
Yes, because 11, they're 15, 16, so they'll be
Yeah,
13,
yeah.
13, 14, depending on what month they're born in.
I watched them work today, and I was like, wow. I was impressed, which is
Ah, that's
another thing, which
good.
is one of the things I was talking about
Mm,
yesterday about streaming.
mm,
The children tend to be in ability groups, and these children were amazing. Like I wasn't their teacher. I just stood in for their teacher, but I gave them the tasks. They caught on with it. They were collaborating. They were, talking to one another and saying, oh, so and so, how do you do that? For once, I just let them be. I didn't say don't walk around the room because I knew
mm.
if any of them got up them from their seat, they're going to talk to somebody else
Somebody about
about their
constructive.
work.
Mm, mm.
I was like, wow, wow,
Is that a
very
state school?
interesting. It is.
Wow, that's kudos to that school. Kudos to them.
It is. It was
Kudos.
interesting to see. So yeah,
Yeah.
and these skills they come to play in so many ways. They were respectful. They were. I was just like, oh God, this is good.
If all classes can be like that.
Oh, they had developed the skills they needed for,
Mm,
independent work, independent
mm-hmm,
study. They
mm-hmm.
knew, they knew, they knew where the resources were. In fact, when they left, I was like, oh, I didn't check the calculators. They borrowed calculators, they put them back.
Wow.
I didn't have, with some classes, you would have to count them in and count
Again
them
and
out
again. Yeah.
because they have no respect for anybody's property. They
Mm,
feel like I can
mm,
take it. So
mm.
therefore, you have to watch what they are
Wow.
doing. So
Wow.
it's amazing how far these skills can go.
Mm.
Right, let's move on.
And that's why you call them life skills, isn't
They
it?
are, they
Life
are,
skills. We
they
are
are life skills.
122, 1 hour, 22 minutes in.
Yes. How many more do we have?
We have five more, I believe. What's your
Okay.
take?
Mm, I think we'd best.
Because we'll talk about each one. There's no way we're
Yeah,
not going to
there's no
talk
use
about
running
each one.
through it. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we can probably do the remaining five and then leave at some other time and leave room for more questions. I
Okay.
don't know if we got any questions today.
There's no questions. They're
There's no
more like
questions. Okay.
reflections,
Okay.
probably agreement with some of the
Okay.
things that you are saying, or they've encountered similar things.
Mm,
Obviously, we're all parents and we've all got
yeah.
children. That's one thing that we can all say is the same everywhere.
It
It doesn't
is.
change.
It
As
is.
long as they're children, is definitely the same thing everywhere.
Mm.
So, yeah. Um,
Oh,
and
somebody said
experience some, yeah,
my daughter wouldn't let me touch anything in her room.
exactly.
The
And
teenagers. It's a
and
teenager, right?
I would, because if you do it, I won't be able to find it when I need
Yeah.
it. That's always the
Yeah.
excuse.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
I've heard that too many times.
As long as I know where my stuff is. She
Mm,
doesn't know.
mm, mm.
When it's now time to go, she'll be looking and be wasting your time. They don't
But
know.
please, can I ask some questions? In some
Yeah.
of the things that you have said, and
Mm,
you know, um, in as much as I understand that their learning and brain is developing, I mean, even the first thing you said at the beginning, right at the beginning, that it takes 25 years. The first thing that popped into my brain when I saw 25 years, I said, well, none of them should be married before 25.
well,
If it takes 25 years for the brain to be where it needs to be, then none of them should be marrying before 25. But that's a discussion for another time
mm,
anyway. So, but that's what came into my mind. So, um, like you should know, I think you use that language that by now you should know, or we expect you
mm,
to know, or why you
mm,
not knowing, or that kind of thing. So, at what stage, at what point, when we've been doing these things for so long? Because if my child is not comprehending something that we've been doing for so long, is that a telltale sign somewhere that something is not quite right? Or because if we're doing, let's say we're doing the routine like you're saying, and
mm.
you know and the child is not still not doing it and the child is still not getting it, could that be a telltale sign of something else, or is that because yeah, you and I am sure we've used that language by now. You should know, you
Mm,
should know, I
mm.
expect you
Should
to
know
know.
better.
So we should know better, exactly. So when is it wrong and when is it right? And because surely there must be a point, Sister Falakemi, when we
There
should
is,
be
yeah, you know
exactly.
that there's certain skills expected because there's so much. Maybe I'll add it to the next session. Of course, there's certain skills expected as they grow.
Mm,
Okay, on the in the ideal world
mm,
where we've modeled those things
mm,
and they're not picking it up, then we need to begin to unpick what's going on. Okay, so if by 18, for instance, which of the skills am I going to? If by 18, for instance, they're
mm,
still highly disorganized,
mm,
then we should have a sit down and think what's going on. I mean, we wouldn't even let it get to 18 by secondary school. If they're in secondary school and you're still having to do for them the things you were doing for them in year two, you would you would query that. You wouldn't even wait for that long. If you have a child in year four, year five, and they can't find anything without you, then definitely. And the good thing about these things is they are not only just obvious at home, they are obvious at school.
mm-hmm,
Teachers will begin to say to you, you know, he's not paying or she's not paying attention, she's not sitting still. The children that talk a lot and disturb the class, it's because there's something not they don't understand what's going on. I know one who mentioned something yesterday. Basic things like, can they see well? Can they hear well?
mm,
Can go a long way. I remember a child years ago. He was having this. He was a sweet child, year one, year two. Then he started having these meltdowns, like proper.
serious.
You
Wow.
would have to clear the room and all of that.
Wow.
Happened the first year, I continued the second year, and then I think I was doing some work with him, and I noticed that when you speak to him, he'd stare at you blankly for a while. And I thought, can this child hear me? Can he hear properly? Apparently, he had developed a coping mechanism. He could lip read.
Read. So when he couldn't see your lips.
So in class, when you spoke to him
Mm.
and assumed he had heard you, he didn't hear you.
Yeah.
And then when you either raised your voice or you got a consequence, he fled up. So basic things like, can they hear well? Can they see well? Those things, and of course we talked about sleep yesterday, and those things,
Mm.
they
Mm.
affect how the children turn out. So if those things are in place, we're doing all we can, and things don't just seem right, then we should start, beginning to unpick it. And school would have been drawing your attention to it. Most schools will. Like, we don't know what's going on. Or you yourself, we can see that this child is struggling with the homework, can't
Mm.
access it. It tends to all come together, and you begin to see that, that it's not quite right.
There's a question for you on the screen.
How do you enforce? It remains an area of concern. Depends on the age of the child.
Mm.
It depends on the age of the child. Um, what are the expectations that they're not meeting? If it's an older child, anything from 11 upwards, there have been lapses in the past that we need to like pull back on. And I always say to parents, you know what? There's nothing wrong with saying, look, I got it wrong.
Mm.
I haven't modeled this properly to you. I've said it to my children a few times that, I haven't done right as per this sort of thing. Sometimes we talked about money, and I said, look, let me tell you something. I said to them, I said, I don't think I taught you well enough. I didn't model what I wanted you to actually learn. And we had a discussion about it. So if there's that issue, depends on how old they are, you can sit down and talk about it and say, look, I noticed that when we start talking to the older ones, let's not go in guns blazing. Let's go in with the view of having a conversation, a discussion
Mm.
about what has gone wrong and owning our part of it
Okay.
and saying, I can see that you're not managing your time well. I think there's something I've probably missed along the way.
Mm.
What can we do? How can we work together to be sure that you get to school on time? Talk about, do you think it's important for you to get to school on time? Or do you think it's important for you to be ready, maybe it's for church or for, if I don't know what the occasion is, for this on time? And then unpick the values around that and have a discussion about why is it important, who benefits from you being on time,
Mm.
what picture of you does it paint to other people when you are coming in, you know 15
After
minutes
everybody
after
else.
everybody else.
Mm.
So it's having that discussion and bringing it back to them and talking about what are your values as a family and their values as a person.
So we're assuming in this instance that the parents have got good time management, by the way. That's an assumption.
That's an assumption.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because
Then I actually, maybe no. I'm saying if we think we haven't had good management,
mm,
we can adopt this strategy. If
mm,
we think we have good management, we can still adopt the strategy.
mm,
Okay, start a conversation with, I'm curious about, or I've observed that. That way, you're not starting with you always.
mm. Always is a
I, as
lie.
an adult, when somebody says you,
Always.
my defensive
Goes
antenna
up
is up.
immediately.
So approaching that situation, like, I've observed that you're not planning your time well. What's going on? What do you need to do
Mm.
to get to be able to be on time?
Okay, so you've got a
Yeah,
response. The child we're talking about is in their teens.
yeah.
So if their teens, I don't know, Sister Falakemi, as we
Mm,
close, I think
yeah.
we're now 1:34, 1 hour 34 minutes. Um, we hear things like the troublesome twos and
Mm,
the teenage um what do they call it? No, tantrum is for the twos. I don't know what they say about the teenagers, but I think you get what it is I'm trying to say.
yeah.
I've always struggled, and again, that that thing I said, your child don't disturb me, and my child doesn't disturb you. Okay, Archbishop is also talking, so we'll come to that one as well, Archbishop. Um, so I don't believe, I could be wrong.
Mm,
Again, I don't believe that every 2 years old has to behave in that particular way.
no.
That all of them has to throw tantrums. All of them have to throw their body on the floor in the mall and scream and
Mm,
shout. And I don't know where I was the other day, um, some sort of outing or shopping or something. And there was a child, and the child was just screaming, but there was nothing wrong with the child. It wasn't lack of attention. It was just, I want to scream. I'm screaming.
mm.
And I just saw that the parents just didn't even try and say, stop screaming. There's other people here. I hope you're getting the kind of thing I'm saying. And so, and
Yeah.
then as our children grow up again, then we start hearing, oh, all teenagers do that. Is the hormones, is the adolescence here, is, and teenager throwing tantrums, speaking back, revolting. Do you get all those things? Is that is that it? Because I always say to people, my children didn't do it.
Uh, I think it comes back to the from the beginning,
Okay,
the atmosphere that we've set
created
up, we've created, that we've encouraged, the values that we've instilled, and our relationship with the child. Okay, terrible twos. I think it just depends on the temperament of the child. Okay, some children will be louder than others, and how we've handled those things from the word
the
go,
beginning. Okay.
from the word go. So if we've taught the child now and next, you do this, then you do this,
Mm,
then the battle of wills will probably not be as bad as getting to that extent. They might sulk.
mm,
They might, all children do that. They might
mm,
have, the silent, but
mm,
they probably would not get to the meltdown because they've learned how to kind of contain. We will talk about a lot more on this and when we do flexibility. They've learned to contain their disappointment when things don't go right. I think sometimes when children struggle is because they've had a lot of freedom, as long as there's no underlying
mm,
issues.
mm.
Because I know that children who have developmental issues, for instance, will have a meltdown in a crowd
Okay.
because they are overstimulated
Ah,
and their anxiety plays up and they will have a meltdown.
down. Okay.
Okay, so those ones, that's different.
Mm.
But the ones who have not learned self regulation will have a meltdown because we haven't put the boundaries in place.
Boundaries. Okay.
We have to put
Boundaries.
boundaries. There's
Boundaries.
at the end of the day, they're still children,
Right.
and our boundaries come from our values.
Mm,
Because we don't do things like that.
mm,
We wait our turn. We wait turns. We wait for
mm,
our turn.
mm.
Okay, we wait. We take turns when we speak
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. We model it. We teach it, and usually children who are developing at the right at the normal pace and who are meeting their milestones will be able to understand that,
Stand.
so they'll be able to contain. So children who can cope with disappointments,
Mm.
they haven't learned, they haven't been taught to
How?
self-regulate, they
Oh,
haven't
okay.
learned yet. There's certain things we expect that by the time you're 7, 6,
Mm,
you know, you'd have learned that life, doesn't serve you everything you want.
mm. It doesn't. That's right. That's right.
It doesn't serve you everything you want, and you just take it. You want the pink one, and you got the blue one. Well,
Mm.
sometimes that happens. My third child takes her time to do things. She would rather wake up their children like that. My daughter is slow and steady, but she will be up before all of you. She's the first person to shower in this house, and she would take her time to be. She would be down before anybody
Everybody.
else.
Wow.
There's some children like that.
That's just the way they are.
They're just
And there's
a
nothing.
temperament.
But
And
that's good though, isn't
it
it?
is good.
Yeah.
That child is very self-aware.
Exactly. I
She's
mean, they
very
don't.
self-aware. She knows that I need my time, and she's organized
Mm-hmm.
herself. Okay,
I think the one we don't want is the one that would not wake up or die. I will still keep everybody. That's the one.
everybody.
Okay. So
Uh,
if
the
they want
standing
to,
joke for
if they,
those ones is, On your wedding day,
exactly.
we'll wake you up at
Well,
4
we'll
a.m.
see. We'll see. And that's another thing I was going to ask, but Senator has got something on the screen. She
Okay.
says, this reminds me of my daughter. We were running late, I think, at a particular morning, and she said that I don't want to lose my job giving out milk for breakfast. It made me laugh, but I saw how important. I think I get the gist. I think you get the
Mm,
gist.
yeah.
Important. I think
For her to get to
getting to
school on
school
time.
early is for her.
Mm,
So she realized again. I think it's one of those things that you're saying, the importance of learning why we do what we do when we
mm,
do it. So she obviously enjoys her job in the school.
mm.
And if she's late, obviously, maybe that's one of the conditions
Somebody,
she wouldn't get to do it.
mm,
So, mommy, you're not stopping me from doing my job. I want to
yes,
get to
don't
school.
make me late.
Well, it's quite refreshing, to be
It
honest.
is. It
I mean,
is.
if they get it this early, and that's what I'm saying, it makes it easier for me and for you.
Mm,
Because now when she gets up thinking, I've got to be quick because otherwise we're going to be late. And
mm,
if I'm late, I can't do my job in giving out milk for breakfast.
true. Mm.
I mean, that's another sense. Isn't that what, like,
Sense
responsibility?
of
Take it was, yeah.
responsibility.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
If we can instill these values, I'm
Mm,
sure these are all quality and good
yeah.
values, and these are the things we do want to be passing on
Mm,
um, to our children as they grow up. Um, I don't know. That's what I think anyway. I think they are good values,
yeah. Yeah.
and we
Absolutely.
encourage them when they're doing it. If they're doing it, we encourage them to do it even more. But I think generally there are some children anyway. Is there such a thing? I believe there's such a thing. They're just born with these values.
Yeah, kind of. And I think a lot of the times it's got to do with their temperament as well. Yeah, they're children like that. They just seem to absorb and organize and learn and do
Mm,
things in a certain way. The children who have to be explicitly taught everything.
mm,
This is
mm.
why, that's why we're talking about these things. That's why we're talking about the executive functions. There's children that have most of them, they're fine, they're
Yeah,
just good.
yeah,
But then don't forget we've talked about the foundations.
that's right.
What has happened? There's nature and there's nurture.
Sure,
What has happened at the foundation?
sure.
Some of the things we were not aware of
Rough. Even in the womb.
in the womb.
Even in the womb. It's interesting,
Mm,
because I've said this before I ever met you. When I was a child, there was an aunt or a sister that lived in our house, and she was pregnant when she was doing her PhD. And I remember she used to travel. She used to travel at least 1 hour to go to university during that time. And when this girl came out of the womb, she was literally brain popping. I'm telling you. And I've subsequently, I mean, I was a child, I didn't know
mm,
anything, but I
mm,
noticed it at that time.
mm,
So obviously, I came to realize, even as I was growing up and I was having my own children, that a lot of what you do during the time you're pregnant,
mm,
one way or the other, does go to affect. I'm not just talking about the smokers or the drugs or
mm.
the
Everything,
alcohol.
everything,
Okay. I just
everything.
come to realize that,
Yeah.
and that's why in fact, subsequently, I've seen people, a lot of people, many people do it. They're already married, but they're still doing their masters or doing something. As long as they're still reading or, actively doing this thing, when that child comes, that child takes certain, well, I mean, on the other hand, I also learned from my daughter, we all get our brain from our mothers. So
Oh my
I don't want
goodness.
to tell you the flip side of that, because
Okay.
if you're
Mm,
not doing smart,
mm, mhm,
you also know who to. But apparently, so But apparently, what we do, so that I'm thinking,
It
so
does.
while we're pregnant, some of those things, even if we were uh, um, malicious, vicious, violent, all those kind of things, believe it or not, we
It
are
does.
passing it
Yeah,
on.
pass
If
it
we're
on.
constantly angry and annoyed, and we're passing it on. We really are. We're passing on a lot of things that we don't realize. And if we are gentle and meek and kind, and we're also passing that on as well.
Mm.
We're also
Yeah,
passing it on.
yeah.
Because I remember my young man, while we were in his the days when he couldn't even speak, in the months, still months. Whenever we went for ministration somewhere and the sister wasn't there and they gave him anything, he wasn't yet one, and they gave him anything. Sister Falakemi, this boy will not touch it. He will bring it home to the sister first.
Habit, values.
We were
Yeah.
shocked. He will bring it home to the sister first. But meanwhile, I can't talk about the sister on the other hand.
Can you see how
But
different they are?
exactly,
Yeah.
very different. He will not touch it. He will hold it in his hand and bring it home first.
Mm.
So,
Amazing. It's yeah. At the end of the day, um, especially for parents who have teenagers, I just
mm,
say, look, I know we have those battles. I've said to my colleagues when my son was doing his GCSE, I said I decided to choose my battles. My battle was this GCSE. You will pass in one sitting.
mm,
So that bedroom, I stopped going there. I stopped going to go inside and pick up this, pick up that. I was just like, just read your book. I'm not going to fight. This season, we're not fighting.
mm,
We're just going to do this study. After
mm,
we
mm,
can.
mm,
So I just encourage us, let's develop the relationship with them. It's never too late to, spend time with them, talk to them. Um, don't major in the minor. I think the most important thing is the relationship, especially if it's been lacking. Build the relationship, and then every other thing you can talk about. If there's relationship, you can have a joke about,
mm.
the kind of things we joke about. Oh God, you
Exactly.
know, like,
Yes.
oh, those
Not
shoes.
getting up
Oh my
early.
God,
Yes.
those shoes need to leave this house.
Mm,
What's that
mm,
stink? We
mm,
can
mm,
joke about it. Whereas
mm.
there was a
If there's
time
no. Mm,
when it will be a flare up. So
mm,
we are children of God. Pray
yeah.
about it, and at the end of the day, we are being given care. We're caretakers,
Yeah.
and God will give us the wisdom
Amen.
we need.
Amen. Amen. So we didn't get to the questionnaire. Um, that will be another day, am I right?
I think. Do you want us to go over the questionnaire?
I don't know, because I
Hmm.
thought there's some sort of results that is supposed to come of it. So it will
Okay,
tell them.
I'll talk
Does
about
that
it.
make sense?
They have their results, and the results would tell them which of the skills they need to work on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes, I thought
yeah,
so. So we'll put that for the next time we're together.
yeah,
Is that okay?
yeah. It's fine.
Okay. So everybody, sorry if you were waiting patiently to find out the kind of skills that we needed to work on, or we've already nailed. Um, does that make sense? Or did I get it right? Is
Right. I think what I'll do next session is I'll display the questionnaire, because at the bottom of it, it
mm,
tells they would have ranked the
mm,
skills, and
mm,
then they would know which of the skills. That's why I'm treating the skills one at a time,
the
because they
time
would
now.
know
Oh, okay,
which is
okay,
the stronger skills, which
okay.
is the weaker skills.
Okay.
Hmm.
So hopefully by now, with the skills that we've
Yeah,
already
that
spoken
we've
about, they
done.
will
Yeah.
already know what.
Hmm.
Okay.
What? Yeah. And if there
Amen.
are more
Amen.
questions, then we can
Amen.
we
Amen.
can address them.
Okay. Ozone layer. I think I'm meeting you for the very first time. Maybe I'm not. But if you are returning, or we are very good discussion. Thank you. She said.
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
so
assuming it's a
much.
she. I don't know. Thank you, both
Thank
sisters,
you.
Funke and Folakemi. That's true. We're both here. If I didn't even realize. Very good discussions. And please, as always, I know my sister is not going to say it. Archbishop is also thanking you. She's saying, thank you, Sister
Thank you,
Folakemi.
ma.
God bless.
Thank
It's
you.
okay. It's okay, Archbishop, that you don't thank me. I'm not annoyed. It's okay. It's fine. It's okay. But you, again, I want to say, as always, please, you can find Sister
You're
Folakemi on
welcome, JJ
Facebook.
Prophets.
Exactly. That's my aunt. So you can find her on Facebook, and you can definitely find her on YouTube, and you can find her also on Instagram. I think she's more active on Instagram more than, am I correct? More
More on
than
Facebook.
more on
I used to
Facebook.
be more on Instagram, but more Facebook now
Facebook.
than
Okay.
yeah.
So any one of them, please feel free to connect with her anywhere that you want to connect with her, please. And as always, if there is, you've got a teenager, because that's, am I correct? That's really your area.
Something, yeah.
Yes, helping the parents and helping the teenagers. So if you're going through any of those challenge, you will do mine later. That's fine. So if you're going through any, will keep myself anonymous. Okay, keep yourself anonymous. Ozone layer. One day, God will open my eyes of understanding. Okay. So yes, please, as I'm saying, if you want to connect with Sister Folakemi, like I always say, please feel free to do that. Like I said, teenagers, parenting, whatever it is, reach out to her, please. Like I said, I reached out to you on Instagram and you responded to me. Hence the reason I thought Instagram was the best place. But
Mm.
if you want to do Facebook as well, she said that's absolutely fine as
Fun.
well.
Yes.
Please, collectively, we can help all our children collectively. And you know something, we're talking predominantly about our own biological children. There are other children around us
Count.
as well. Yes, that
Every
we
count.
can help with this. I know how sensitive it can be to point out to some parents sometimes, that this is that, that kind of thing. Uh, okay, this person know me way back. Oh, this person, who's this person on Ozone there? Anyway, so, but anyway, like I'm saying,
Oh,
um,
this person went to FGCK and Ilaro. Oh,
so
what?
hint. So okay, so do you?
Okay.
So is it? So
I
maybe
don't
we have
know.
some connections that we
I
don't
don't
even know.
know.
Both you and I. Okay, we're gonna have to. Ozone layer, you've got
All
to
right.
identify yourself. Anyway,
Thank you.
excuse me.
Mhm.
Uh, good night and thanks for your support. God bless. Yes, thank you. That's
Amen.
my
Thank
aunt
you, ma.
again. So, yes, we're bringing it to a close, but I just want you to know, as always, that you can always connect with Sister Folakemi. Why am I speaking on your behalf?
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please
Uh,
connect with me. Reach out to speak to me if you need to.
mm-hmm.
I'm here to help.
Mm, mm,
Mhm.
mm. Okay. And if you do want anything else, the questionnaire as well that we are going through, obviously, please reach out to me. I've got the questionnaire. There'll be 2 or 3, depending on the age range of your children.
Mm.
There will be one for you as a parent, and then there will be one for that particular child that you want to answer the questions on. So, again, we closed together yesterday. I'm going to ask us to close together again as well. To everybody, we're saying thank you. God bless you. We really appreciate you. We look forward to see you again. We don't know when that will be, when Sister Folakemi will have the opportunity to be with us, but hopefully in the near future, she'll be with us again by the grace of God. So, as always, everybody, I want to leave you in the most capable hands of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Have a wonderful day, morning, or night, wherever you are. Take care and God
Take
bless you
care.
all.
God bless.
Bye.